Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to presentation number 2. Um, Now, in last week's presentation, we were focused on the relationship between drawing and seeing, and the importance of developing the ability to sustain a kind of a state of deep concentration or to sustain focus. That's important because drawing accurately and representing what you see is one of the most useful things about drawing. Again, drawing is immediate. We're going to be talking a little bit about the immediacy of drawing. So in terms of being able to accurately record what you see in the world, the objects around you, there's nothing more useful than drawing in terms of understanding your subject. Because again, if you're drawing something as opposed to taking a picture of it, what is required is a deep concentration and a sustained focus. And so you will come away from the experience of interacting with the scene or the object that you're drawing with a clear understanding of it. But drawing is useful in other ways. And again, it's the immediacy of drawing that makes it useful in other ways. In this presentation, I would like to shift focus a little bit and talk about engaging with your imagination and how drawing is also perfectly suited to articulating ideas. So let's talk about ideas. Let's talk about the imagination. Now, where do ideas come from? Well, sometimes ideas come from observation, the kind of observation that we were talking about last time, or from, external sources. But sometimes they come from the imagination. Now, drawing has traditionally been a way for artists to record or to respond to ideas with immediacy. Again, like jotting down a note so you don't forget your thought. And then there's abstraction. Ideas can be quite abstract. And drawing can be useful in articulating abstract thought as well. This is a Gerhard Richter drawing. It's quite abstract from 2015. And this is another Gerhard Richter drawing, also from 2015. Again, very abstract. We're going to talk about abstraction more deeply in a later presentation. Right now I want to talk about how art functions. Now, art can function in two ways, okay? It can reveal something interesting about how we think as individuals, how an individual artist thinks. Isn't it interesting how that person thinks, you might say, in response to a work of art? Or isn't it interesting the way that person's mind works? Or it can reveal something about how we think in a more universal way. Now, usually our reaction to work like this, a more universal work, is more like a recognition of the way that things are, or of another way to see things, maybe a way that we hadn't considered before, or even just a shared sense of what it feels like to be alive. We recognize ourselves or some aspect of our humanity in art like this, art that's more universal. Let me show you an example of an artist whose work I think lays this out in a fairly clear way. Jasper Johns. So I want to talk about Jasper Johns' drawings. Now, Jasper Johns' work acts in this second way. Okay, he's concerned with the everyday, with the banal objects and images that surround us, and he refers to his subjects, all of the imagery that occupies his drawings and his paintings, like the flags and the targets that made him famous. And look, if you're not familiar with Jasper Johns, just Google him, just look him up. Check out his flag paintings, his target paintings, these very important paintings from the 1950s and 60s that have been so influential. Again, this is a second-year drawing class. If this was an introductory class in drawing, then I would feel compelled to walk you through all of this history. But it's not. I'm assuming that if you're here and you're taking drawing for a second time, then you are interested. And if you are interested, what I'm going to be doing is suggesting that you do the research, okay? So look up Jasper Johns. Learn as much as you can about him if you're interested. Anyway, he referred to these subjects that he chose, these banal, everyday subjects, as things the mind already knows. Now, he was less interested in the subjects themselves that he chose to paint and draw, and he was more interested in how we think about these images and objects, and how those subjects can be manipulated in order to challenge how we think. This is called 0 through 9, along with the flags and targets that I was referring to earlier. He also, in his early work throughout the 50s and 60s, made paintings of numbers and letters, alphabets. This is a series of all the numbers from 0 through 9, drawn one on top of the other, essentially. The art writer Anna Testar said this about this drawing. She wrote this about this drawing. She says, "It's arguably one of the finest drawings that Johns has ever produced, and one of the largest. 0 through 9, from 1961, presents the figures as almost ghostly apparitions, the varying tones of the charcoal and the pastel causing the forms to drift in and out of focus, so that at first glance one might discern a 3 and then blink and discover not 3 but a 5. Because both the medium and the subject matter are normally encountered on a much smaller scale, the sheer size of the figures immediately makes them seem strange and unfamiliar." It's a very large drawing. This drawing is about 5 feet tall. "So the towering forms take on an almost human proportions, creating a sense of monumentality not usually associated with such everyday language. The complex, tangled composition compels us to approach this drawing as a visual puzzle that requires our full concentration, and to look at these numbers, or things the mind already knows, in a completely new way." Now, his work since the 1950s has been concerned with breaking down the boundaries that traditionally separated art and everyday life. His drawings and paintings, as well as his interests in semiotics and perception, they represent a constant exploration of the world that surrounds him. He referred to this approach to art making, especially in reference to his drawings, as a way of understanding the condition of being here. And what he means by that is the condition of being alive. This is actually one of my favorite Jasper Johns works, including all of his large and ambitious paintings. This is a small and simple drawing. It was made, I call it a drawing, it was made by applying, I think, just baby oil to his face and to his hands, pressing his face and his hands into the surface of, I don't think this is paper. I think this is, it is. It's an architectural vellum, so semi-translucent architectural drawing paper made from plastic. He pressed his hands and his face covered in baby oil onto the surface, and then he took graphite dust or charcoal and put it all over the surface, and then wiped it off, and the graphite or the charcoal stuck to the places where the baby oil imprint was. And this one is called Skull, from 1971. This is like 10 years after the first drawing we looked at, the numbers drawing. It's similar to the self-portrait skin drawing, in that it's actually made from an imprint. I'm not sure, but I believe this is paint. I don't think it's charcoal. I know he had a skull in the studio, and whatever it is, let's say it's paint. He just rolled the skull in the paint, and used the skull itself to make the imprint onto the surface of the paper. Now, John's drawings, especially when they're at their most simple and enigmatic, like the drawings that I've been showing you, are above all a meditation on the world around us. But he's not just concerned with the way the world appears, the way the world looks. He's concerned with the way the world works. Now, before I show you the next drawing, I'd like to show you this. It's a detail from a painting by Jasper Johns. This painting is called Fool's House. It's from 1962, so around the same time as that number drawing that we were looking at. Now, the painting Fool's House, again, you can look it up yourself. You can Google Jasper Johns Fool's House and you can see the whole painting. But I'd like to just concentrate on this one small part of it. It's the central figure in the painting is this broom. The broom is attached to the painting. That's not unusual. Lots of his paintings from this period incorporated objects from the world that were included in the composition attached to the surface of the painting. But in this case, the broom, what does a broom do? A broom sweeps, right? And so he's presenting the broom as though it's not in motion right now, but it has been in motion. And what we see is the evidence of its motion. The painting, the broom is impacting the surface of the painting and causing these sweeping marks across the surface of the painting, indicating to us the function of the broom. This is what the broom does. Now, this piece incorporates something similar. This is called Diver. From 1962, 1963. When you see a date like that, 1962 to 1963, that suggests that he worked on this drawing for a period of time, a number of months at least, spanning 1962 and 1963. Now, in this piece, we have footprints and we have handprints. Okay, at the top of the panel, you'll see these footprints. Here in the center, but also on the bottom of the panel, you see a set of handprints. Now, it's been suggested that these handprints, the way they come together, one beside the other, are that they form a shape that can be interpreted as a skull. Okay. Can you see the skull? There's the skull. Okay, but what it really is one set of handprints, and then directional arrows in this shape, in this curved shape, a directional arrow moving this way and this way, suggesting the movement of the arms, and indicating that while the hands are starting here, they're going to end up here. So what you have essentially is feet, a body, arms, and a head, skull, okay? But the hands are repeated from here to here. Because it's both a picture of a diver and a description of let's say, the mechanics of diving, or how a dive works, or how the human body moves when performing a dive. It can be thought of both as a picture of a thing in the world and a picture of how the world works. And divers also it's been thought of as a metaphor for Johns' artistic process. We as viewers are invited to immerse ourselves in or dive into the rich and complex workings of the artist's mind. That's one way of thinking about it. But remember, I did say that Jasper Johns was much more interested in exploring the world, how the world works, and less interested in revealing anything that's going on in his mind. In fact, he once said to the art critic David Sylvester, he said, "I'm interested in things that suggest the world rather than things that suggest the personality." Now, Johns is famously cryptic about his work. He doesn't like to reveal the meanings. He doesn't even like to reveal the sources of his imagery. But in this case, he was clear that this piece was made as an homage to the poet Hart Crane. Hart Crane committed suicide by diving to his death from a ship in 1932. Let me show you a detail of this piece. Remember the broom sweeping across the canvas. Well, this is the bottom right quarter of this drawing. As you can see, the hand here, the diver's left hand is here. The arrow is indicating the direction of the movement of the arms as the figure dives into the water. We know the hands are going to end up here. But what's also happening is that there's these marks along the surface of the drawing, smear marks indicating that the movement of the hand. It's not just suggested; it's actually physical, as though the hand has actually physically smeared the drawing materials, the charcoal, as it's moved from here to where it's going to end up in the center of the painting. Now, again, in the previous presentation, we were talking about how drawing is useful. Well, one of the ways that drawing is useful is as preparation for painting. That's the way it's normally used. You do a sketch in order to get your ideas together so that you will be more confident or have more direction when you're painting. Jasper Johns uses drawing in almost the opposite way. He'll complete a painting, and again, I told you to look up Jasper Johns and to see his flags and his target paintings, but I just can't help myself. Here's one of his target paintings right here. My sense is that his paintings, the act of painting, is somewhat exploratory. He's often working out his ideas while he's making the painting. And he'll often make drawings based on his paintings after the paintings are completed. This is a case of something like that happening. It's a lithograph, but it's essentially a drawing on the lithography stone. This is Target from 1958 and another Target from 1960. And what you can't help but see when you look at the drawing, again done after the painting, is that the drawing brings to mind an eyeball. It looks like an eyeball that's staring directly at you. In other words, he's using drawing and the immediacy of drawing. It's less precious. He's not making a painting that's going to take him weeks or months to complete. He's making something that's very immediate and very fast and very direct based on what appears to be just the recognition that, yeah, it looks like this target, it can feel like an eyeball. It's like the target looks like an eyeball. And so he's made this drawing to kind of articulate that thought. Here he is doing it again. In a slightly different way this time. This is the drawing or the painting Watchmen from 1964. This is one of my favorite Jasper Johns paintings. He's attached, just like in Fool's House, where he attached a real broom. In this case, he's attached a real chair, and that is a body part. It's a plaster cast, cast from a real person. So he would make plaster casts of body parts and use them in paintings as well. And what we have here on the right is a drawing done again after the painting Watchmen. He's reconsidering. Oh, what if the chair was in the opposite corner? So again, he's engaging with his imagination. He's using drawing to question what if. Well, what if I turned that chair and that leg around and put them on the opposite side? How would that look on that painting? Or what if the target was, what if I pushed it in the direction so that it looked more like an eyeball? The point is, he's using drawing to explore possibilities, just to record ideas in a way that, again, is more immediate, is faster, more direct, and less precious than painting. Now I want to briefly show you someone else, another artist who uses drawing in a similar way, Jim Dine. Now Dine, he's another artist who takes everyday objects as his subject and who imbues them with meaning. Okay? Throughout his long and prolific career as an artist, drawing has remained central to his practice. His drawing is gestural, it's very physical, it involves constant correction. He's always erasing and redrawing and erasing and redrawing. He'll often use pencil, charcoal, watercolor, acrylic, ink, pastel, all in a single work. His work is often very dreamlike and very repetitive, employing simple forms like these bathrobes. He made a lot of them over a number of years. The question arises, how much are these drawings or paintings or prints, he made them in lots of different mediums, how much are they about the bathrobe and how much are they about just possibilities, imagined possibilities? How much are they about the condition of things in general, or again, the way the world works? And how much are they about his own thought processes, about how he thinks about the world? This one's called Black and White Bathrobe. It's from 1975. This one is Gray Sitting With Me. It's from 1996. This one's very sketchy, very ethereal. This is a charcoal one, Black Storm of Charcoal, it's called, from 2006. Here we have two robes. What happens when there's two robes side by side? This is two hand-colored Colorado robes from 1983. This is a cool one. This is Jim Dine's Two Dark Robes from 1991. I mean, when you look at a drawing like this, is it still about the robe? That's the question, right? I mean, he's imagining possibilities. What's he thinking about? Is he thinking about the robe, or is he thinking about darkness, just the condition of darkness? And here we have one from 1986 called Atheism, talking about engaging with your imagination. Okay, here we have the robe combined with a tool, a saw, cutting down a tree. And the inclusion of a tool, the saw that we see in this particular drawing, is not unusual. Tools were another recurring motif, they are another recurring motif in his work. He's still very active, and they've appeared. Tools have come in and out of his work for 40 years. Let me show you some of them. Now, I don't want to say much about these drawings. I'm including a few of them because I think you might find them inspirational, but I just want to show them to you. Jim Dine is an interesting character, and his commitment to drawing, like I said, over a period of the last 40 or 50 years, has been quite an interesting one. His journey as an artist through drawing has been quite interesting, and it's something that I want to return to in another one of these presentations. So I'm just going to show you these, and we're just going to leave it at that. This one is, these are all from a series called Untitled Tool Series from 1973. This one is called Sea Clamp. This was called Five Bladed Saw, from the same series. This is interesting. I can't help but talk about them. I was just going to show you, but this is interesting. What does the saw have? It has a wing nut here, and you can imagine loosening the wing nut, and what would happen if you loosen the wing nut? You'd be able to move the blade of the saw, or replace the blade of the saw with one of these other blades. So the saw, in effect, here is you can see it functioning, but you can also you can also get a sense of its utility. It's like a Swiss Army knife. So again, not necessarily about the way things work or about the way things look, but about the way things work. And here, these pliers, he's included a level surface right here that the pliers are sitting on, as though the pliers are walking, as though they're moving of their own volition. And this one is called Drywall Hammer. I love the line work in this one. These pencil lines, you can't help but see hair when you look at lines like that. It looks like the hammer is sitting on a little bed of hair here. All right, let's leave it at that. Like I said, we're going to talk lots more about Jim Dine's drawings in the future. But for now, I hope everyone has a good week. Good luck with your assignment. And I will see you all very soon. Okay, take care.